My name is Kayla. I am 19 years old, and I need to tell you about the man who had been hiding under my bed for weeks before I ever knew he existed. He had been in my room while I slept, multiple times, and the only reason I found out was because he got reckless one night and sent me a photo of himself on my Instagram. Subscribe before we go further. Drop a comment telling me where you are watching from right now, because what I am about to describe happened in a house I shared with my mother, a house I thought was safe, a house where someone had been coming and going without either of us ever hearing a sound. Let me start from the beginning. I was a freshman in college in Fontana, California. I commuted from home, which meant I lived with my mom in the same small house I had grown up in. The house was a single story in a quiet residential neighborhood. Ranch-style tan, stucco, a small front yard with a dead patch of grass my mom kept meaning to reseed. I had the back bedroom, the one with a window that faced the side yard and the neighbor's fence. I was active on Instagram the way most college students are. Selfies from class food photos, stories from wherever I happened to be that day. Nothing unusual, nothing that would have seemed remarkable to anyone scrolling past it. My profile was public because I wanted to connect with people from school. It did not occur to me to think carefully about who else might be watching. On a Tuesday evening in October, I got home from a long day of classes, had dinner with my mom, and went to bed around 10. I was a notoriously heavy sleeper and usually out within a few minutes of the lights going off. That night, I was almost under when my phone buzzed on the nightstand. New follower notification on Instagram, username something like Jonathan W, followed by a string of numbers and characters. No profile photo, just the default gray silhouette. I looked at his account out of tired curiosity. He was following several hundred other accounts. He had 0 followers himself, no bio, no linked content, no real name visible anywhere. But he had a small collection of posts, and I scrolled through them, trying to understand what I was looking at. They were extreme close-up shots of fabric, cotton material of some kind slightly compressed with visible stitching, attached to what looked like wooden planks or slats, the kind of wood you would find in a frame or a box structure of some kind. Nothing else in the frame, just the fabric, just the wood. Sometimes the lighting in the photos was the warm orange of a lamp, and sometimes it was the cooler ambient light of daytime. I put my phone down and told myself it was either a bot account or some harmless eccentric who photographed his furniture for reasons unknown. Both explanations were boring enough that I was asleep within 3 minutes. Less than 60 seconds later, my phone buzzed again. A direct message from the same account. 2 words, "Hey baby." I stared at the screen for a moment. Not a bot then. A person who had immediately moved to direct messaging after following me with an opening line that communicated exactly the kind of attention I never wanted from strangers online. I typed back asking who he was. I should not have done that. Responding confirmed to him that I had seen his message and was willing to engage. But it was 10:15 at night and I was half asleep, and I reacted before I thought it through. He did not reply immediately. 5 minutes passed, then 10. I put the phone down and started to drift again. Then 3 notifications in sequence woke me back up completely. I picked up the phone intending to block him and be done with it. He had sent me a photograph. It was a candid shot taken outdoors. The framing suggested the photographer was at some distance using zoom. The subject of the photo was a girl walking between campus buildings, backpack on mid-stride, completely unaware of the camera. The image was clear and composed. It had been taken with patience. The outfit in the photo was what I was wearing that day. The girl in the photo was me. The caption beneath it said, "Do you like this candid shot I got of you today?" I sat up in bed, and the cold moved through me in a way that had nothing to do with the temperature of the room. He had been on my campus. Somewhere in the spaces between the buildings I moved through every single day, someone had been watching me closely enough to take a clear photograph of me without my knowledge. And then he had come home, found my Instagram, and sent it to me as though this were a completely normal thing to do. I typed back something harsh. I told him to leave me alone. I told him I was going to the police. I blocked the account immediately after sending, and then sat in the dark with my phone in my hands, trying to figure out what to do next. I did not sleep again that night. In the morning, I told my mom everything before I left for class. She listened carefully without interrupting, and when I finished, she did not dismiss it or tell me I was overreacting. She asked good questions. How long did I think he had been on campus? Did I recognize the angle the photo was taken from? Had I noticed anyone watching me recently? I could not answer any of those questions. That was the worst part. I had no idea how long any of it had been happening. I had no frame of reference for when the surveillance had started. My mom spent part of that afternoon researching home security cameras. By the time I came home from school, she had ordered 2 of them. The next evening, a neighbor helped us install them. One on the front exterior covering the porch and the approach from the street. One inside my bedroom mounted in the upper corner near the door, angled to cover the full room including the window and the bed. I tested the app on my phone. The feed came through clearly. You could see the entire room, the bed, the desk, the closet door, the window with its thin cotton curtains. Everything. I set the motion sensitivity high and went to bed. I lay there in the dark and felt the particular strangeness of knowing a camera was recording the room I was sleeping in. It was uncomfortable, but also reassuring in a way I needed. If anything happened, the camera would see it. That knowledge was the only thing that let me relax. I turned off the bedside lamp and listened to the house settle around me. About 10 minutes later, I heard the bedroom door creak. Not a subtle sound, not the ambient noise of a building adjusting to temperature changes. A deliberate, weighted sound. The sound a door makes when someone is pushing it open slowly and trying to minimize the noise. I opened my eyes. The door was swinging inward on its hinge. The hallway beyond it was dark, and framed in the doorway, standing completely still, was a shape. Human height, human proportions. Standing in my bedroom doorway in the dark, not speaking, not moving, just there. I screamed. Everything that followed happened very quickly, and I do not have a clear, sequential memory of it. He moved toward me, and I kicked out from under the covers with both feet as hard as I could while still screaming. I felt my feet make contact once. I kept making noise. I kept moving. I am not a large person, and my only advantage was volume, and I used all of it. After a few seconds that felt much longer, he turned and ran. I heard him go through the house. Heavy footsteps, the sound of the back door, then silence. My mom was in the doorway within moments. I was on the bed shaking, and she came straight to me, and we put a chair wedged under the bedroom door handle and called the police from inside the room. Officers found him hiding in the backyard of a house 3 doors down, crouching behind the garbage cans. He had not gotten far. They brought him in. They processed the security footage from our camera. Then a few days later, the lead investigator came back to the house and sat down with my mom and me and told us what they had found. The photos on his Instagram account, the close-up shots of fabric and wood that I had dismissed as bot content or eccentric hobby photography, were not photos of construction materials. They were photos taken from underneath a bed, looking up at the underside of a mattress, at the specific grain and compression pattern of the fabric on the box spring, at the wooden slats of a bed frame viewed from directly below. The investigators confirmed it by matching the photos to my specific bed. The type of frame, the particular weave of the underside of my mattress. The orientation matched photos taken from the position of someone lying flat on the floor under the bed and pointing a phone camera upward. He had been in my room multiple times, He had been coming in through my bedroom window, the one I sometimes left unlatched because the room ran warm, sliding in quietly, moving under the bed and lying there, waiting, watching through the gap between the bed and the floor. And before he left, each time he was taking photos. The daytime photos and the nighttime photos on his account represented separate visits. He had been doing this for weeks. He had been in my room while I was sleeping. He had been in my room in the daytime when I was at school. He had been in my room and documented it with his phone and posted it publicly on Instagram. And I had seen those photos and not understood what I was looking at. The investigators could not establish exactly how many times he had entered the house. The photos gave them a minimum number of visits. The actual number was likely higher. I did not go back to sleep in that room. I have not been back to that house. He was charged. The case moved through the system. I gave a statement. The security footage from the camera we had installed exactly one night before this happened was submitted as evidence. One night. If we had installed it 2 nights later, nothing would have been recorded. I keep my Instagram private now. I verify every follow request personally. I never post content that shows my location in real time. I never post photos from home. And every night before I get into bed, I check under it. I get down on my knees and look all the way to the back wall. I check the closet. I check the window lock twice. I do all of this before I turn off the light. It takes about 4 minutes. I have not skipped it once. Because he was there for weeks and I had no idea. He came and went and I slept through all of it completely unaware. And the only evidence he left behind was a set of close-up photos posted publicly on the internet that I looked at and did not understand. The warning was right there, in his posts. In the photos he had already put online before he ever sent me the candid shot from campus. If I had known what I was looking at, the shape of what was happening would have been clear immediately. I did not know what I was looking at. That is the part I come back to every single night when I am down on my knees, checking the space under the bed. The second story, my name is Amber. I am 24 years old. And I want to tell you about a man named Charlie who commented on every single one of my Instagram posts for over a year before I ever acknowledged him. He left messages in my DMs every single day for 14 months without a single response from me. I thought he was just noise, just one more account in an inbox full of accounts I never read. I was wrong about that, and my dog paid for it. I was an Instagram model, not celebrity level, but enough of a following to generate real income through OnlyFans and brand collaborations. My online presence was my job, and I treated it as such. I kept the content professional and the boundaries clear. My Instagram was public because reach mattered. My DMs were essentially unusable because of the volume of unsolicited messages, so I almost never went in there. If anyone legitimate needed to reach me, they could come through my OnlyFans where the communication was structured and I had more control. I lived with my parents. It was a practical decision while I built up my savings. We did not always see things the same way, and the tension in the house was real, but it was manageable. What made it genuinely feel like home was my dog. Her name was Carly. She was a medium-sized mixed breed brown and white with an outsized personality that made her seem twice as large as she was. She had been with me for 3 years. She slept in my bed every night. When I was stressed about work or tired or having a difficult day, I could sit on the floor with Carly, and the weight of whatever was bothering me would reduce to something tolerable. She was my closest thing to an anchor in a life that often felt unstable. Then Carly started barking at night. The first night I thought something had startled her. A car outside, an animal in the yard, a sound from the street. I went out and checked and found nothing. I brought her back inside and she settled down. The second night she started again. Louder this time, more sustained. The kind of barking that is not a reaction to a specific stimulus, but a continuous state of alarm. I checked the yard again. Nothing visible. By the end of the first week, she was doing it every night without exception. My parents were losing sleep. They asked me to do something about it. I tried everything I could think of. I stayed up with her. I brought her inside and she would calm down for a while and then start again. I checked the yard every time she started and never found anything. By the end of the second week, my parents had started putting her outside at bedtime. They said they needed to sleep. I understood it, even though it made everything worse, because now she was outside alone and more anxious than ever, and I was inside listening to her through my bedroom window and not sleeping either. I started spending my nights on the living room couch because I felt closer to her there. On one of those nights, I ended up scrolling through Instagram out of pure insomnia boredom. I was in my DM inbox, which I never looked at, just scrolling through the backlog out of restlessness. About halfway down, I noticed an account that appeared over and over and over. The same username appearing at daily intervals going back more than a year. Every single day, every single one unanswered. I looked at his profile. His name on the account was Charlie. His profile photo was a selfie taken in what appeared to be a dark room with very little ambient light behind him. He was in his 40s, heavier set, with a particular look of someone who had not been outside much recently. He was following over 2,000 accounts. He had 0 followers. His posts were all selfies, the same pose in the same dark background, dozens and dozens of them. I made the decision I should not have made. I sent him a message. Not warm, not inviting, just a redirect to my OnlyFans if he wanted access to content and conversation. A professional boundary-setting response. He replied before I put the phone down. The speed of his reply told me everything I needed to know about the state he had been in, waiting for me to notice him. He was overwhelmed by the response, effusive and intense in a way that was immediately and viscerally uncomfortable. He said things about how much this meant to him. He asked immediately if we could video call. I declined and put the phone on the couch beside me. It buzzed continuously for the next several minutes. I watched the notifications stack up without opening them. Something about the pattern was wrong in a way I was trying not to fully form into a thought. The daily messages for over a year, the 0 followers, the dark basement selfies, the instant reply, the immediate request for video. I checked the messages after about 20 minutes. The sequence had moved from needy to confused to a very specific kind of anger. The kind that comes from someone who has been building a narrative in their head for a long time and feels the narrative threatening to collapse. He had sent a shirtless photo at some point in the sequence. He was crying in it, visibly and seriously crying. Then the messages shifted into hostility, name-calling, demands, repetition. I typed back something I should not have typed. I was tired and creeped out, and the anger that had been building in me from the disrupted sleep and the worry about Carly and the discomfort of this whole situation came out in a message that was direct and probably not wise. I put the phone down. And then I noticed something. The house was quiet, completely quiet. For the first time in 2 weeks, Carly was not barking. The yard outside was silent. The kind of silence that is not peaceful, but empty in a way that feels wrong. My phone buzzed. One more message from Charlie. It was a photo. He was in my backyard. He was crouched down in front of Carly's doghouse, the small wooden structure my dad had built her 2 years earlier that she used mostly in the summer. His arm was around Carly and she was struggling. Her whole body was straining away from him. Her mouth was open. He was in my backyard right now. He had been in my backyard. The photo was current, the lighting matching the nighttime exterior of my house exactly. I was off the couch and through the back door before I had fully processed what I was doing. I crossed the yard fast. The backyard was dark, the motion sensor light not triggering because I was coming from the back door angle. I called her name as I ran toward the doghouse. What I found when I got there, I am not going to describe completely. I will tell you that Carly was there and that she was gone and that it had happened very recently within the last several minutes while Charlie was sending me messages from inside my own yard. His footprints were in the dirt around the doghouse, and around the doghouse specifically, there were multiple sets of overlapping prints. Not from tonight only, multiple visits. Prints from different nights layered over each other in the soft dirt at the side of the structure. He had been in my backyard before, more than once. He had been here while Carly was outside. He had been here while I was inside sleeping on the couch. I called the police. They came and documented the scene and the prints and the photo he had sent. They assessed the entry point to the backyard as a section of side fence that could be accessed from an alley. The latch was worn and would not have taken any real force to manipulate from outside. By the time any of this was processable, Charlie's Instagram account was gone, deleted. His profile, his posts, his messages, all of it removed. Investigators attempted to trace the account through the platform, but he had covered what he could cover. The police have his shoe size from the print impressions. They have a general physical description from his profile photos. They have the message he sent me with the photo, which I had screenshot before his account disappeared. They have not found him. I moved out of my parents' house within a week. I live with 2 friends now in an apartment across town. I deleted every social media account I had. I do not have a public online presence of any kind anymore. I changed my hair. I changed the way I dress when I go out. I changed my routines, the routes I take, the times I go places. I understand that none of this is guaranteed to work. A person who has been watching you for over a year and has demonstrated they are willing to enter your property at night is not necessarily deterred by a changed haircut. But it is the only action available to me, and doing nothing is not something I can accept. Carly had been telling us something was wrong every single night for 2 weeks. Every single night she stood in that backyard and used the only communication available to her to tell us that something in the environment was wrong, that something was not safe. She could smell him. She could detect his presence in a way we were not equipped to detect. She was doing exactly what a dog does when a threat appears near the people she protects, and we put her outside to make her quiet. We moved her further from us and closer to the threat because the sound of her warning was inconvenient. I think about that every day. I will think about it for the rest of my life, not with anger toward my parents who did not know, who had no way of knowing, but with the specific weight of a thing that cannot be undone. She was telling us, every night, in the only language she had, Charlie deleted everything. He has no digital footprint that investigators have been able to locate. Wherever he is currently invisible in the way that only people who are deliberately choosing to be invisible manage to be. I do not know where he is. I do not know if he knows where I am now. I do not know whether the changes I have made to my appearance and routines are enough, or whether they matter at all to someone who spent over a year learning my patterns before he ever entered my yard. What I know is that there are no more dogs barking outside my window, and that the silence where that sound used to be is the hardest thing I carry. 2 stories tonight. A man who lay under my bed for weeks and photographed the underside of my mattress, and a man who spent 14 months in an inbox I never opened, patiently daily building towards something neither I nor anyone around me could see coming. Both of them were quiet for a long time before they acted. Both of them used the ordinary landscape of social media, the public profile, the DM inbox, the follow request to get close to someone who did not know they existed. The close-up photos of fabric and wood were on a public Instagram account. The answer to what they were was right there. I looked at them and dismissed them because I did not know what I was looking at. The messages in the inbox were there every day for over a year. The volume and consistency of them were information about the state of the person sending them. I did not read them. I am not saying any of this to assign blame to myself or to Carly's story. I am saying it because the information was present and visible and real. It existed in a form that could have been interpreted correctly, and it was not. Pay attention to what you can see. Look at what is already there before it becomes something you cannot ignore. Check under the bed. Listen when the dog barks.